Hi, I'm Alden.
Hi, I'm Francis.
Welcome back to the ChattyAF podcast.
We have a guest today from Fulbright.
Hi, I'm Kelley.
Yeah. You're working at NTUST these days. She's an advisor, and we want to ask you a little bit about that. Like, how do you feel about being an advisor at NTUST?
How do I feel? I'm happy to be here. It feels great. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's different than what I've been doing. It's like the first office job I've had in a while, so that's different, but it's been really good, and it's cool to be here in Taiwan and be contributing to the EMI program here. So yeah.
Nice. For our viewers, what is NTUST?
It's National Taiwan University of Science and Technology. So yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've had kind of quite the track record of places that you've been teaching in. Could you share a little bit to our viewers about that?
Sure, yeah. So I first started teaching, I was like dabbling in teaching in undergrad. I got my undergraduate degree in journalism, but I got a minor in linguistics, and so I was teaching at the university, and then I got my master's in linguistics there as well, and I was teaching a little bit the first year in grad school, and then I went on to work for that department. I was teaching, this was in Ohio, in Athens, Ohio, and I was teaching undergraduate international students for 3 years. I was teaching like business writing, and I was teaching freshman comp, and I was teaching speaking and listening, and I was teaching like incoming Fulbright scholars, just like a bunch of random things at the university.
Fulbright scholars, could you tell us a little bit more about that? What does that entail?
Yeah, totally. So I was at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, not the Ohio State, Ohio University.
Right.
And
we know the difference.
We definitely do.
Yeah, and so I was teaching in the linguistics department, but then there was also an intensive English program, which I don't know if people are familiar. So they used to be a lot more common in the U.S. Now a lot of countries are like doing it in country. But a lot of times countries would send their students abroad to learn English. And so I taught a little bit also in the intensive English department there, and they have been operating for like a really long time, like 30 years or something, and they have a long history with Fulbright. The director has long history, and so they were like a site for incoming Fulbright scholars. So if incoming Fulbright scholars in the US were placed in a city, they would have their orientation in like the countryside and vice versa. And so we were an orientation site. And so one summer, it was 2018, I was one of the English for academic purposes professors for that program. And so I was like helping the students. I mean, basically, it was kind of like a buffer period for culture shock. So it was just like kind of maintaining and giving them structure, and then teaching them some like research practices, teaching about plagiarism, and then also like teaching about American culture. So, and it was like, it really kind of shaped the trajectory of my future after that. Like I was like, oh, this is really what I want to be doing. Like I'd been teaching for like 2.5 years at that point, maybe 2 years like in that department. And and it just solidified that I wanted to work with maybe more like underrepresented populations. And it felt really meaningful for me. So yeah,
that's kind of cool. And like I know that Francis has a little bit of like experience working in the States too, so this is kind of cool to like for me who hasn't really done that to actually like get both of these perspectives.
Definitely.
Like what exactly were you doing again, like over there specifically? Did you ever like did you ever have to do anything like that, or not?
Well, really? I was mostly at the K to 12 level. Actually, no, I was only K to 12 level. So I worked with 8th graders for 3 years teaching mathematics, and then I did Fulbright for a year. But then I also went back and worked with high school students, specifically in college and career counseling. So a little different. I didn't really. My certification allows me to also teach ESL students, but I've never worked directly with any type of like orientation or anything with foreigners.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but then after that, I moved to DC and I taught in the public schools. So then I did start teaching K through 12.
All right, we gotta ask DC or Ohio.
Oh God.
DC.
Sorry.
Hard choice.
Yeah. Suddenly I can't talk. Sorry. Okay. Well, I mean, by the time I left Athens, Ohio, I'd lived there for 10 years.
Okay.
It's a very small place. Yeah. It's like, it's beautiful, but I was ready to leave. And so, but I think for diplomatic purposes, I cannot choose.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to say something nice about both places, like go for it.
Well, I will say that Athens, Ohio is like, it is a very special place. It's like in the middle of Appalachia. So it's kind of an impoverished place, but the university is like, it's just a really unique experience. So like when I moved to DC, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, like in Athens, I ate at like 3 restaurants, you know, there were like 3 restaurants, there was a farmer's market, there was like so few things. And so I was really excited to go to DC, and I was like, oh, I'm going to eat so much international food, and there's going to all be like, I love cooking and baking and everything. And so I was like, there are going to be so many like grocery stores and markets and stuff. And actually I could find more items in Athens than I could in DC because like the international market in Athens, I was like, why can't I find this stuff in DC? But the answer is gentrification, I think. Everyone had moved out of DC essentially, and so everything was either very expensive, hard to find, like, or you needed a car, which I didn't have in DC.
Yeah, for sure.
So so that was one thing. Athens, like, I didn't realize when I moved to DC, I remember I had to wait in so many lines.
Yeah.
I was just waiting all the time, which now I'm used to. But in Athens, no, I was never waiting. And there's just like, actually, I was reflecting because I've had to go to Elon a few times for like workshops and stuff. And I have some advisees there. And it kind of reminds me of Athens, actually. Like when I've gone, it's just very beautiful, lots of water, and like everyone's really nice and everything's cheap. So, you know, but DC is great. Like, it's a really nice city. I mean, it's like I think for the US, and people can argue with me if they want, but I think the public transportation is probably the best. Like, it's like,
DC.
Like the cleanest. It's not like New York.
I was like, wait.
New York is in the US. In the US, it's probably like the cleanest, and people are like kind of orderly, you know, not as orderly as Taiwan, but
I mean, I took the metro this past summer, and like it was good. Like it got me to where I needed to go, and it wasn't like it wasn't like too unaffordable or anything like
and
that.
And for the US, that's a pretty good thing. It's worldwide now, that's but
cool. You're really selling.
You were in DC this summer?
I was in DC this summer. I was visiting a couple friends. Haven't been back in a while, so you know, like a lot of them live around the area, so you know, I got to go back and see a lot of them.
Yeah, totally.
It's cool that you mentioned Elon, though. I think viewers know how we feel about Elon on this channel. Yeah. So you're really selling Athens, Ohio to the rest of us with that.
Yeah, I can sell it for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm curious, going back to what we were talking about earlier with your teaching career, what are some things that you really liked about it, or what are some things that you found really challenging?
Let's see. Well, as I was saying, like, I really liked working with the incoming Fulbright scholars, and it was like people from all over the world and from places I'd never taught before, because when I was teaching undergraduate students, it was mostly like pretty wealthy students from just like a couple of countries, and it was very rewarding to teach one of those classes, but I just kind of I wanted it to feel more meaningful. And so, and so that was a challenge for me. And then I was kind of like, what should I do? And so then when I moved to DC, I mean, that was, I don't know, like you were teaching probably were we all teaching during COVID?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
So
online.
I was teaching kindergartners online. So
what was that like?
Well, you know, maybe you guys wouldn't be surprised since you've probably taught kids here. But they were pretty like resourceful. Like they could all log themselves in to their,
kindergarten.
Oh yeah, they could log themselves in. I had one kid who he made my screen his background, made his name my name. I was like, that is like, he was just like, I feel like it taught them some, they just were funny. They like learned different like literacy skills. I would like put them in little breakout rooms, and I would go between them. They'd all be like talking to each other, like,
Cool.
Yeah. So, and then we moved to hybrid, and I don't know, like at the time felt so difficult. Like I think it probably felt for most of us, but looking back, I'm like, wow, I had so little oversight at the school I was at, and like could kind of just do whatever. And we had kids that had like some pretty serious tragedies happen during that time, which was pretty common. But I feel like it was just really amazing to see how like resilient those kids were. And I was like with them during some of like the Black Lives Matter protests, and like I would just let them talk, and they had amazing parents. So like, it was just really cool, some of that, and rewarding, but I was like also ready to leave at the end of that. But then it just, I don't know, like it was pretty challenging, post COVID that year. And then the year after, it was sort of like, I taught at a different school, also in DC. And, one of the teachers, she'd been teaching for 30 years, special education, and I would just talk with her every day, and she was like, this is the hardest year I've ever had, because the kids, at the time I was teaching 4-year-olds, because DC has universal pre-kindergarten, which is pretty awesome. But like the kids had never been in school, they'd never left their parents, like it was just like, so that was challenging. And I didn't feel like I had the support that I needed, because I was kind of a newer teacher in the K through 12 setting. Like it was only my 3rd year. Well, technically my 4th year, because I taught for a year in grad school. But and so I had been looking for, I had this professional mentor who's really amazing, and she introduced me to, it's like another State Department exchange program called the English Language Programs. And so that year I was like, am I going to stay here and teach in the public schools, or maybe I'll apply to this program and go abroad? And so then I applied, and then I went to Algeria for 2 years, in North Africa. And so then I did that for 2 years, and I was training pre-service teachers, undergraduate students again. So I think what's difficult about kids, which I love teaching kids, but a huge part of it is just classroom management. And so I did miss teaching college students, because they can manage themselves.
Content.
They're adults. So
you don't have to look after them.
Totally. For sure. I think I don't know. I think feeling supported is really important. Like for me, and like that there are these structures like in place in teaching that I really got in my first graduate program, after one of my professors hired me to work in the department, and she gave me like such amazing support. And so I think that was something that I didn't really have after that. And so that was a challenge, to answer your question.
Sure.
That is challenging.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, so much to talk about. But what I really like about what you said was this aspect of kind of like support systems, because I've also been there, even here in Taiwan, where I've had no support system versus a lot of support. And when I have the platform to, even run classroom management, to, from day one, have them do all the maneuvers to get them in the framework, in the mind frame of like learning,
sure.
It's like when that can happen, it's such a world of difference. And it just, it's not focused on enough in a lot of institutions. And you can definitely talk about that teaching in the Bay,
especially in the States, going right into the classroom, it was just you sink. What is it? You like
sink or you swim.
You sink or swim. And for me, would Teach for America, there were like minimal support, and so you just kind of have to figure out. In classroom management, I think that's just the biggest part of teaching. Maybe even at the university level.
True.
Maybe not like managing the class, but managing the relationships or finding ways to build a rapport with students. So that's what I've noticed. But what are ways that you do like figure out support systems and build support systems for your students?
I mean, I do just want to, I don't know, maybe she will never watch this, but Dr. Dawn Bukowski, she's just like, shout out to her, because
check it out.
She's like so dedicated. She's very accomplished like professor and teacher trainer, and she was one of my professors in in my first graduate program in linguistics, applied linguistics, and then I got to do research for her, and then they hired me to work in their department, and she just was so dedicated to me. Like the last semester of my grad program, she had me what's it called? Like I was in the class that I was going to teach for the whole semester, and like he trained me, and it was like it was a business writing class, but we like wrote the textbook and we like worked with local businesses, and so he trained me for everything, and then I taught that class, and then when the next year when I started teaching it, she would like observe me every single week, and she was like very busy. She was the director of this program. She taught multiple grad classes. She was like writing papers, so she would like observe me every week and then give me feedback and meet with me, and yeah, and it's like since then, like she's like always written me, letters of recommendation, and like I still check in with her, and like that really impacted me. And like I was not the only person she did that with, like and so it really impacted my view of like supporting teachers, but then also like I think just these systems, like then when I moved into the K through 12 system, like for the first 2 years, I like didn't really have, it was pretty intense. And I was a lot older. Like I chose to do another grad program and do a teacher training program. And I was like 6 years older than most of the people in the program. So I felt like I was a little bit like taking care of everyone. Like I would be like, go home when your hours are done. Like you do not have to do more, and because a lot of them had never had a job like outside of like they just graduated. And so I think I just became a very strong advocate for, like I was in difficult environments, that's true. But like, I was like, I know I can hold my own, like I can handle it. Like I have support systems, and like it was like built inside of me, I felt. And so then that just like kind of kept going for me. Like even when I went to Algeria, I was teaching undergraduate classes. Like I was teaching pedagogy, I was teaching writing, but I was teaching it for future English teachers. And I could see even in Algeria, it's like, like most of the world, it's like teaching is a predominantly female dominated field. It's like underpaid. And so I just was very passionate about individual support, like, making sure that even my students now, like they know, maybe some of them will probably watch this, like we still stay in contact like all the time. And they know they can always reach out to me, like they know that like I'm available to them, but then also like trying to create these supports and being an advocate for them to administration, like I think that's just so crucial. So I think I don't exactly remember the original question, but yeah, I'm very passionate about like teacher support, because I think even like during COVID, for example, like everyone was like, oh, for like 2 weeks, teachers and nurses were like the saviors, and then we were like the enemies after that. And so, but I think that I do believe that, I mean, just to get on my soapbox for a minute, like it's like I do think education is like a human right, and that often like teachers and like that they're the ones doing that. And so it is like an integral part of society. And so I'm very passionate about like, advocating for teachers. I don't know.
Yeah. Of course. No, that's great.
So, yeah.
Of course. We need that. Teachers need that.
Yeah.
Please give us support. We're begging you. Anyway, thanks for signing on to the ChattyAF podcast.
Like and subscribe. That's the support we need.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Because like it's kind of insane what like teachers are already able to do.
Yeah.
Even without all of the support, even without all of the framework, even without the element of like actually like preconditioning the students for like learning. Because I mean we all know that it starts early, and like we all know that it's the sort of thing where because kids aren't guaranteed like good quality education, especially in economically and historically like redlined districts and things like that, at least if we're using the States. It's like they're not ready to be in that kind of an environment. And so it's this idea that like teachers are still somehow able to work with that, even without all of the institutional and systemic support. So it's truly incredible what they're able to do.
Yeah.
Just imagine what they could do if they were given the support.
More money.
Yeah,
exactly.
And not only that, I don't know if I'm allowed to go here on this podcast, but like we also have to be prepared to like, you know, if there's like an active shooter in our classroom, you know. So like with my 4-year-olds, like I was teaching 4-year-olds, and like it's like not only do I have to teach them, and you know, and I would say too for like, you know, lawmakers and people, I'd be like, please come in my class and try to teach my 18 4-year-olds for 8 hours. I would love to see you try.
Yeah, like, teachers have all the skills in the world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And
leadership, just management, everything.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just think like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm so confused about why it's not more of a priority. It's like really, I mean, I know that like it's not like big, I mean, some of it is big business, right? Like I think in the US it's like, it's all attached to money, and it is attached to money even in the schools, but like, it's just like so mystifying to me that we don't want to support teachers more. I don't know. So anyway, yeah.
It's oftentimes taken for granted. I feel like a lot of times I hear that it's the job that you do if you can't do the actual thing that you want to do, which
right. Yeah.
I don't really get it because, you know, the skill set is completely different, like research versus teaching or, you know, practicum versus theory. You know, it's,
for sure.
Well,
it's just like if people say that they can just try to do it, then it's, you know, then they'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, give it a try.
Just give it a try. Like, why not? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you said just, like, try it. Like, like just try doing education.
Yeah. Just try it if you think, you know.
If it's that easy.
If it's so easy, just go ahead and do it. There's, like, a lot of need, actually, so you can just do it. It's not hard, like you're saying, you know. So that's my opinion.
Viewers, if you're interested in being a teacher, give it a shot. Maybe you'll like it.
Yeah.
If not, maybe you'll realize how hard it is and you can inform other people.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. Kelley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, viewer, for watching the ChattyAF podcast, and we will see you next time.
See you. Like and subscribe. And donate.